Chapter 41. An enhanced version of Han. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Liu picked up the automatic injector. This was the last one, but Han's still in a coma. If Han still couldn't wake up after this, then it would have come to pass that Earth had forever lost this miraculous young man. That was not something they wanted to see. All the life monitoring equipment in the room displayed that Han's condition was normal, but he was still unconscious. He had a regular respiration rate, heart rate, and his brain was still working, but he just didn't have any consciousness. From a medical standpoint, this was an incredibly odd sign. Letting out a small sigh, Liu injected the medicine into Han's arm. The gold fluid slowly got pushed into Han's body, and at the same time, Han's skin was becoming red as if he was burning. The monitoring equipment displayed a rapid increase in the activity of cells inside Han's body, reaching 1200 times the normal rate of ordinary people. This intense level of metabolism caused Han's body temperature to rise rapidly. His whole body was sweating non-stop, pores expanding and a gray-white fluid start to come out from the pores. Every time they used this special injection, Han had a similar reaction. At first it was black fluid coming out of Han's body, but as more doses were applied, the fluid's color became lighter each time, ultimately becoming the gray-white color right now. But it could be clearly observed, after consecutively using those 12 doses, Han's skin had become smoother each time. From observing Han's eyes, they could see that it was getting purer, as if Han underwent a complete change each time. The medicine's effect ended and the heat started to drop, but Han's eyes were still tightly closed. There was no sign of consciousness. Liu shook his head, and said to Wu Di, who was standing beside him, "Let's go. The new extinction site's exploration plan is now at a crucial stage. As for Han, I hope fate can take care of him." Wu Di nodded in disappointment, but just as these two were about to leave the room, there was suddenly a sound inside the room. The two were immediately shocked. They turned around only to find Han waking up. Just when they are about to give up, Han woke up. He comfortably did a long stretch, and looked at Liu and Wu Di with a big smile. "Where am I? It seems like I slept for a long time." "You are awake. Han, how are you feeling right now? Does your body hurt anywhere?" Liu and Wu Di asked in excitement. At the same time, the monitoring equipment detected Han's return and quickly signaled the nurse and doctor on shift to quickly come in. Han thought for a bit, got up. "It doesn't really hurt anywhere, but I need to go to the washroom." When Chiu Taibua anxiously rushed to the hospital room and found that Han wasn't there, he yelled, "Where's Han?" Liu pointed at the closed washroom door, "Taking a bath." "Taking a bath?" Chiu Taibua was shocked. He was unconscious for a whole month and was just awake for a few minutes, and he already has the strength to take a shower. Wu Di shrugged his shoulder. "How should I put it?" Han seemed really energetic when he woke up, a lot more active than before. Chiu Taibua took a deep breath. This was really a miracle in medical history. Normally, after being in a state of coma for such a long time, the patient should be completely out of strength when they wake up. But for Han, it was like nothing really happened, and being unconscious for a whole month was like an afternoon nap for him. But Chiu Taibua thought for a bit and came to acceptance of the fact. After all, the medicine that cured Han came from a medicine god's hands, so this kind of effect was expected. The sound of running water in the washroom finally stopped. No one knew where he got it, but Han came out with his black celestial python clothes on. After coming out, Han looked at the torn parts on his shoulder, leg and back region, and lightly sighed, "What a pity, I didn't even get to wear this for a few times and it's already in this condition." It was pretty expensive. There are no words to describe how confused everyone was inside the room. After recovering from such great catastrophe, the thing Han cared about most was his clothes. Han, lay down and let Chief Chiu perform an overall assessment. Liu saw that Han was fine and felt like the huge weight on his shoulders had disappeared. It was just Chiu Taibua and Liu in his office. His power source index is 1013, at the 3-star rank. Xiao Taibua said in a deep voice. Li Yu nodded, that didn't change. It's the same as when he was taken into the hospital. That night when he was fighting the raiders, he had just reached 3 stars. Xiao Taibua took a look at another stat. He was shocked at first, and then he put on his glasses and stared carefully at the screen for a while. Then finally, he said in astonishment, his total source energy count didn't change, but his natural growth rate changed. It's now 5. Li Yu was shocked, and asked curiously, is that the weekly or monthly increase? Neither. It's the daily increase. Xiao Taibua took a deep breath and said. Hong Li Yu felt a huge sound in his brain, daily growth rate is 5 units. That's way too overpowered. Before, Han's natural growth rate was only 2.1 units per day, and now it's more than doubled. Li Yu thought, this severe injury Han had, if it couldn't kill him then it would at least leave behind some consequences. But instead, not only was Han completely fine, but he's a lot stronger than before. How is that even possible? Xiao Taibua was completely shocked by every aspect of Han's body. He carefully examined every result from the assessment. Han's cell's activity rate at least tripled, which meant that Han's speed of recovery from an injury is now a lot faster. His brain's cognition region expanded, meaning that Han will be able to learn a lot quicker now. His body's self-cleansing rate and resistance to poison have also dramatically increased, meaning that most types of poison in this world were now completely ineffective to Han, and that he had a body immune to almost all poisons. As Xiao Taibua was analyzing each result, Li Yu was so astonished that he couldn't even close his mouth. His eyes got all sparkly. Xiao Taibua couldn't hide his excitement and said in a shivering voice, in conclusion, what you see now is an enhanced version of Han. Every aspect about him has far exceeded his past. It's just like the old saying, not dying in a huge catastrophe must mean that a great fortune awaits. Li Yu nodded, he couldn't be happier. What he was most worried was Han's inability to recover from this incident and Earth losing a great talent that it has never seen before. Now, Han not only miraculously recovered, but he's a lot stronger than before. It's a result that no one expected. After dialing a few numbers on his phone, Li Yu found his student Wu Di. On the other end of the phone, Li Yu heard heavy breathing, as if he was doing some intense exercising. Wu Di, is Han with you? Li Yu asked in curiosity. Yeah, we went to the rehabilitation center. Han's really strong, I practiced a few rounds with him and still couldn't get any hits in. Wu Di answered as he tried to catch up his breath. You guys went to do combat training. Han just woke up, don't you know that? I didn't have a choice, how could I stop him? But Han is nothing like someone that just recovered from a severe injury. He's even more alive than before. Turning off the communications, Li Yu and Xiao Taibua looked at each other, completely speechless. Xiao Taibua shrugged his shoulder and finally said, without a question, Han is really a monster. Chapter 42. The first Esper Legion of Earth is here. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Li Yu saw Han and Wu Di in an intense fight at the rehabilitation center. From a level standpoint, Wu Di was at the pinnacle of the 3-star level, expecting to level up anytime soon. His power source index was over 9,000 units, which meant that he should be a lot stronger than Han, who currently sat at around 1,000 units. But when they really started fighting, Han actually wasn't disadvantaged too much as Li Yu expected. Wu Di, just like other Espers, was used to using his ice descent abilities. When fighting against Han and getting robbed of his power, it was really hard for him to adapt. In addition, Han's attacks were very fierce, displaying an attitude that he wouldn't give up until he died, and it was actually hard to tell who was winning. Li Yu slightly nodded as he observed, Han completely took away his opponent's power, and then forced everyone else to fight with their lives on the line like Han was. Wu Di knew about Han's power, but he wasn't familiar with that odd and fearless combat style. Not to mention those people that don't even know about Han's power. The moment they noticed that their power was gone and Han charging at them fiercely like a beast, of course they would get scared and be at a major disadvantage. In fact, Han was able to go against all those raiders by himself because he relied mainly on two things. First was the element of surprise. When everyone loses their power, there is always a moment of shock that Han could take advantage of. Second, he was fiercer than anyone, as well as more fearless. The moment he gets the chance, he wouldn't hesitate to deliver the fatal blow. Time to stop. Liu shouted, "You two, come over here." Han and Wu Di finally stopped fighting and came over to Liu. Wu Di scratched his head and said with a little tone of embarrassment, "Sorry that I embarrassed you, teacher, I went even with Han. I must say, Void End is really brutal. I've practiced ice attacks for my entire life, and when it got suddenly taken away I couldn't adapt for a long time." Han responded humbly, "I just took advantage of that this time. Next time we fight, I won't be able to go even with fifth brother." Liu really liked Han's attitude. Even though Han was famous now and everyone knew about the tough bone Han, he was still as humble as always. Liu thought about it and said, "Han, this time you were able to escape death, what's your plan for the future?" Han smiled and said, "Of course I have to continue training hard. Time is running out, I must try my best to compete for a spot at the Milky Way galactic meet. Also, I want to apply to join the assault army." Wu Di said in a pretty proud tone on the side, "You might not know yet, but when you were unconscious, the United Government officially approved the formation of our first ever Esper Combat Legion, and now the assault team has been renamed as the United Government's Esper First Legion." Han was shocked, and he laughed, "Then that's even better. I want to apply to join the First Legion." Liu confirmed, "That's obviously no problem. This time you can wake up was all thanks for the medicine your friend from outer space sent. Did Wu Di tell you this yet?" Han sighed with emotion. Night Walker was always really nice to Han, and the reason he was able to escape death was all thanks to him. He was like a mentor to him. Also, Han finally remembered his drug index numbers. He hadn't updated in a month and he couldn't even imagine how his customers have verbally abused him already. Breaching the agreement of daily updates meant that he needed to pay his subscribers back for damages. Han finally made some GC and now it might not even be enough as compensation. Whatever's coming will come. Now there are other people and Han couldn't get a chance to log onto the dark net. After Liu and Wu Di left, then Han will go and clean that mess he made on dark net. Liu doesn't know what Han was thinking, but he remembered what Qiu Taibua asked him earlier, so he tried to test the water and asked, although the First Legion is now approved, it still needs to stock up suitable equipment and medicine. Right now the United Government doesn't have too much knowledge on the outside world, so I was thinking, maybe your friend that sent you the medicine might be able to help us out a bit. Of course, I will ask him later about medicine, and for the equipment I have someone else that can help. But for both the equipment and medicine, it will probably cost a lot." Wu Di patted Han on his shoulder, said proudly, "Don't look at Earth like the old days. Now that the extinction domain at South Pole has been captured, we now have a stable source of income. I wouldn't call us rich yet, but of course it won't be poor like the old days anymore." Han didn't really understand how extinction domains worked, so he asked in curiosity, "So extinction domains can bring in income too?" Liu smiled slightly and answered in a serious tone, "Oh, you reminded me. Han, would you like to see the extinction domain that you put your life on the line to protect?" Visiting an extinction domain. Of course, Han even dreamt about going there. To protect the extinction domain at South Pole, Han pretty much lost half of his life during that battle, and the assault army lost about 50% of their brothers. The cost was way too heavy. Han have heard a lot of rumors about extinction domains, but he's never seen one with his own eyes. So, he accepted the invitation right off the bat and agreed to return to the South Pole with Liu. But just to be safe, Liu wanted Han to stay in the hospital for a little longer just to monitor his conditions. Han had no choice but to stay, and after Li Yu and Wu Di left, Han got someone to deliver his personal laptop. He took out the login program in his necklace, and entered the Dark Net's public forum. He didn't know what to say after seeing Nightwalker's pinned post on the forum, stating that Han couldn't update the index numbers because he got into a little accident and was hospitalized. Nightwalker was very high up in the hierarchy in the drug industry, and with him personally explaining for Han, the majority of Han's customer all showed understanding. After all, it's a subscription cost of only 3 GC per month, no one's going to be angry over that little money. Han felt very grateful. He rushed to Nightwalker's website, found him and thanked him right away. No need to mention such easy task. Your situation was a bit special, it was a great opportunity for me to test my newly invented drug. Nightwalker answered Han in a very relaxed manner, but little did Han know, the reason he was able to survive miraculously, costed Nightwalker half of his priceless Heart of Darkness. Han said, regardless, without you I would probably be dead already, so I still need to thank you, and also for the drug index. If it wasn't for you to show your face and explain to the public, my subscribers would probably want to eat me alive. Nightwalker answered in a careless manner, this is the Dark Net, you took the money and worked hard and that's already really good. There's no good people on Dark Net, I saw countless swindlers taking money but never sent the products or the other way around, it's all too normal. But now that you mentioned it, what do you plan to do with the drug index? Han hesitated for a bit. Index report was like the light novels online, it required daily updates in order to get readers. It is still okay to take a day off occasionally but it requires prior notice to clients. This time the break was too long, Han's reputation was seriously damaged. Although it is still possible to continue, but he's very busy now and he will only get busier. A job like this that required daily effort was no longer suitable. After thinking about that, Han had no choice and said, although it wasn't my intention to take such a long break, but the impact is already done. I should just sell it all at once, and refund the residual subscription fees back to my clients. Nightwalker knew about Han's condition, of course he wouldn't have that much time to waste on writing those numbers, after all his destiny was to become a fine warrior. That's fine too. Writing an index is time-consuming and makes very little money, how do you plan on selling it? Nightwalker asked in curiosity. Actually, there were always a few people that wanted to buy my original data. I can find someone that I can trust, and sell all my previously collected data to him. In addition, I can advertise for him, and recommend all my subscribers to him, so that can count as like an additional value. Okay. After you are done negotiating I will act as a guarantor. And there's something else I want to ask you, the planet I'm from, Earth, its united government is looking to purchase a shipment of drugs, mainly for source energy pills used for training, and also some other drugs that can temporarily boost a soldier's combat performance. But my home Earth is still really poor right now and can't take out too much money, so would it be possible for you to give me a discount? Nightwalker started laughing on the other end of the Dark Net. Han really cared about Earth and he knew about it. Otherwise Han wouldn't have risked his life to fend off those fearsome raiders. Fine, I don't need that money anyways. From now on, anything you buy, I will give it to you at base price, but you still have to pay for shipping though. Thank you so much. Han didn't expect Nightwalker to be this nice about it and he was really happy. Later I will give you the list, now I will go visit Pathless Origin and see if I can buy some cheap equipment from him. I have no choice, our united government is really tight on finance, so I have to save for them as much as I can. Han said farewell to Nightwalker and went to find Pathless Origin to ask where he could buy cheap but good equipment. Chapter 43. Equipment of the Dead. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Pathless Origin was as cold as before. Oh, you got hurt. I thought you little brat finally stopped bothering me. What do you want to ask me this time? Han anxiously asked. I do have a lot of questions, can't help it because I'm young and inexperienced. But I really want to thank you, from my last battle I finally understood, you taught me that the most important thing isn't skills, nor how to train, but the battle spirit. That's the foundation of a soldier. For the lifetime, everyone will keep on running into challenges and obstacles, and enemies will always show up, but for a warrior with the true spirit and will of battle, he will be able to hack his way through difficulties and accomplish more in life. Thank you for teaching me something that important. Pathless rarely shows emotions, but he start laughing on the other end of Dark Net. Seems like Han's pretty savvy and finally understood the underlying lesson he was trying to teach. But Han also did well himself, seeing how Han yelled his famous words in front of a group of stronger opponents. I don't have anything else, but I still have a few tough bones. Pathless was really proud. At least the time spent on Han was not wasted. This little guy really showed some good fighting spirit, and he's like a true warrior now. Don't kiss my ass. Pathless was happy, but he doesn't want to show it, so he said in a strict tone, "You are still a long way to becoming a true soldier. Killing a few robbers doesn't mean anything. A true warrior need to not display emotion even when facing an entire army. Also, did you do an assessment on your body? Did the injury leave behind any sequela?" Han typed, "The doctor checked, he said I recovered really well and there weren't any sequela. In addition, my natural growth rate was increased a little from before." Pathless Origin frowned a little. "Be clear, how much is a little?" 1 unit. 1.5 unit. Han replied honestly, "The system said, my natural daily growth rate is at around 5 units. First, Pathless was astonished, then excited, then that changed right into anguish. "You little bastard. From 2.1 to 5, that's called increased by a little by. That's more than doubled. How did it grow by that much?" Han thought for a bit and replied, "I don't know, maybe it was the medicine given to me by Teacher Nightwalker." Pathless sneered, "If that old black has that ability, I will write my name in reverse." Pathless said to himself on the other end of the Dark Net. He's very familiar with Nightwalker's background, so he was sure that it had nothing to do with Nightwalker's medicine but with Han himself. To be honest, Han's natural growth rate increasing to 5 units per day really shocked Pathless, but on the outside he still have to play it cool and emotionless. "That's just okay, this kind of speed in Milky Way isn't that impressive, you can't be arrogant because of this. But now that you have recovered, you must not slack off. Let's dial the training progress back a notch, starting from 0.20 degrees Celsius, and slowly increase to the 0.50 degrees Celsius you were at before the fight. You must be patient with this. Do you have any other questions?" Han anxiously asked. "Teacher, I noticed that of among all the stores that sell equipment and skill scrolls on Dark Net, you charge the lowest price. Now my Earth's united government wants to form an Esper Legion, but we are really poor and can't afford too much. Don't know if teacher has any ways of helping us get some cheap skill scrolls. All the things here are second-handed, you know that." "Yep, but that's okay, as long as they are cheap." Han didn't mind at all, because with the current financial ability of Earth, being able to give every soldier some second-hand equipment is already good enough. The equipment sold on Dark Net, they are usually acquired from illegal channels. You don't care about that either. That's no problem, whether it's stolen or robbed. Right now we just need something that's cheap but also decent. We can't afford to care about where it's from." Pathless hesitated for a second and said, "I will be honest, the things I sold were all from stripping the dead. Many great battles took place in Milky Way, and those large-scale wars involved over millions and millions of Espers killing. After the war, dead bodies were left everywhere. Some of the equipment I sold still have bloodstains, and that's why. In the Milky Way Alliance, it is illegal to strip and sells the stuffs of the dead. But there's someone called the Skinner, that's all he does. How about this, let's book a time and I will take you to see the Skinner. If you want some good equipment but don't want to spend too much money, then that's the only way." Han didn't even hesitate to agree. "So what if it's taken from the dead? Right now 90% of the Esper soldiers don't have any equipment. Last time, Han was able to survive in that fight mainly because of his black celestial python. Without the protection from armor, even one blow from the enemy might end Han's life." Han booked a time with Pathless, and reported everything to Li Yu on the second day on their way to the South Pole base. Li Yu couldn't help but frown a bit. Han, what kind of friends do you have? He suggested taking the equipment from the dead soldiers. Is that even illegal? Han wanted to say, he met both Nightwalker and Pathless Origin on Dark Net, and if the business are legal then that would be strange. But of course, Han wouldn't tell Li Yu the secret about Dark Net, so he replied in a deep tone, Chief, I was there at the fight at Shanghai. Before the soldiers from Esper administration arrived, the ordinary citizen Espers didn't have any equipment. They couldn't even protect themselves and they had to risk their lives to protect the civilians. I never want to see that kind of sacrifice again. Even if the equipment is second-handed, stripped from the dead, illegal, so what? In my opinion, the equipment that can arm our brothers and minimize avoidable sacrifices, are the best equipment. As for the Milky Way law, fuck that law. When did that fucking law protect us? Why should we respect it if it wasn't there when we are suffering? Li Yu was deeply convinced. Not just the fight at Shanghai, the fight at South Pole was the same. If the equipment were better, maybe a couple more brothers could live. Even if it can help one more brother live. Earth has about 150,000 espers, not counting the minors, low levels, non-combats, only about half of that number can actually go to war. Every esper's strength is very important, we can't let our brother's blood drip in vain. Thinking about that, Li Yu said in a deep voice, okay, do what you said. Let your friend get us a bunch of illegal equipment and arm our brothers first. I will handle the headquarters side of negotiation. Schwa the plane landed in South Pole. Li Yu and Han exited the plan, and walked towards that extinction domain that's hidden under the base. Underscore 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 thanks for Mighty Sugar Daddy for sponsoring this chapter. Anyways, since Black Bean Sauce is going to be dead for the next few days, I will be proofreading my own translations to see if it works out or not. Chapter 44. C.Class Extinction Domain. You are listening at novelfull.audio. When Han returned to the South Pole base, he received unprecedented amount of welcome. Yo, Han. You are finally back. I missed you, brother. Good, as long as you are back. Thank you. It was all because of you that we got to keep this precious extinction domain. Han smiled as he greeted everyone. Although he didn't know most of them since he didn't stay for too long at that base and he focused on training, and those people that saw Han as their close brothers only met him probably once or twice. But that didn't affect how much everyone loved Han, the Tough Bones Han. There's no one on Earth that's not familiar with that nickname. In everyone's eyes, Han may not be the strongest, but he's absolutely the most fearless existence. 1 against 10 and 20 times the enemies and still charged bravely without hesitation, fighting till the last moment and almost sacrificing his life. Han's story is like a legend to everyone. Ever since the last incident, the security level at base significantly improved. Now there are 2 special force squads guarding the entrance to the extinction domain, that's about 22 people. Han looked at that silver alloy gate inside. That's where he saw the death of Charlie and F.O. Lyman with his own eyes. Now revisiting this site, how could he not feel down? Stepping past that mysterious gate, Han finally arrived at the legendary extinction domain that he heard so much about. A bit different from what Han imagined, there's no fancy decorations nor artistic statues, it's more like a metal fortress, the grand lobby connecting countless passages. Most of the passages have rails installed, and electric transporting trains dragged out carts and carts of black minerals, sending everything to the gigantic machine at the lobby for refinery and sorting. The black coating of the minerals were scraped, leaving behind light yellow crystals. The crystals are pretty small, like grinded transparent sand, and the workers are in the middle of boxing them up. The extraction rate isn't too much, harvesting only a few pounds from a cart of mineral rocks. Han curiously watched everything. The steel-reinforced walls, roof, passage, and there are murals on the wall and roof, depicting the vast Milky Way, as if the pre-historic civilization were very fond of the starry space. Liu let out a sigh of relief. Now this is a C.class extinction site that belongs to Earth. It was a pre-historic or yard that carries pretty good quality sun-fire crystals, which is that little yellow rock. It's used to manufacture high-level alloys, and each ton can be sold for 50,000 GC. The ore yard's current production rate is 1 ton every day, and we can take these minerals to the Milky Way public market for sale. That way, United Government will have an income of about 15 million GC every month. As productivity picks up, the harvesting rate will increase as well. When it can reach to around 3 tons per day, that's 45 million GC. You must know, the United Government's income last year was only 50 million GC. Han was a bit confused, but I don't really get it. It's just exploring a mine. How did so many brothers die in battle? Liu looked at those dark passages and said, because there were dark beasts. Han was slightly shocked for a bit. He doesn't really understand what Liu meant by dark beasts. Follow me. Liu took Han through one of the pathways. The people working here are all ordinary people without power. Seeing how sweaty and hardworking they are, they probably know how important this mine is to Earth, so they are really trying their best to finish their mission. A predicted monthly income of 45 million is still not enough for a populated place like Earth. All the espers will need equipment and medicine, and that's already very costly, not to mention if they want to form a space fleet. Right now, Earth only has one Air Fortress-class frigate, and it was a prize won by Ka Lake for scoring 9th place during last galactic meet. But regardless of size, Earth is still a country. For a country to have only one space frigate, it's really a joke. But to obtain more ships and train more personnel, it's a huge expense. In addition, United Government has to import some advanced energy sources, machines, training systems, and it also needs to travel for diplomatic reasons, and these all cost GC. So right now, for Earth, it's not a problem about being poor, but a problem being really poor. Han followed Liu and arrived at the depth of the passage, and marks left behind battles began to appear. The claw marks on walls were at least 15 centimeters deep. If those marks were left on soldiers, it would be an instant death. Liu recollected his memory as he spoke. Before the pre-historic left, they locked down many mines, research facilities, bases, and left large quantities of dark beast. Normally, the higher the class of the extinction domain, the stronger are the dark beasts that were left in them, and they also left traps inside extinction domains class B and up. So, for us to retrieve the treasure left behind by the pre-historic civilization, it wasn't an easy task. Like this or yard, it's actually fairly easy to capture among all the other classes, but it still caused the assault army to suffer heavily. With Earth's current strength, if we would to explore higher class domains, it would probably bring extinction upon the whole army and possibly Earth. Han slightly nodded, thought for a bit and asked in curiosity, but how do people determine which class an extinction site is ranked as? Also, I don't get it. If the pre-historic civilization left Milky Way, then why did they seal away everything and make it that troublesome for other people to access it? If they don't want other people to access it, why didn't they just blow them up? The extinction sites are ranked based on their value and difficulty. The lowest one is D.class, it has no threat. C.class is a bit more dangerous, but still manageable. B.class means a significant amount of risk, and only the developed countries in Milky Way has the ability to explore a B.class, and lower-level countries will either ask those developed countries for help or form an alliance with other countries, and then they would barely manage to explore it. As for a class, it's difficult beyond imagination. Even if the most developed countries of Milky Way form an alliance, it's still impossible to completely capture an A.class extinction domain. That's like the ultimate forbidden domain for humans, with countless of traps, hidden passages, and dark beast. Galactic Meet of Milky Way's primary objective is actually to gather all the talented young espers in Milky Way to form an alliance to explore those special A.class domains, which are A.7 domain, A.19 domain, and A.23. These three A.class domains are very unique. There's a restriction placed at the gate, allowing only people under the age of 30 to enter. That year, Kulik successfully explored A7 and his overall score was ranked 9th in the entire Milky Way, displaying an enormous amount of potential. With powerful young warrior with such potential here on Earth, although after the galactic meet ended some countries still suggested to colonize Earth, it was quickly declined by the Milky Way Alliance. After all, in their eyes, a top talent like Kulik might be really helpful to the Milky Way Alliance in the future. But sadly, after the galactic meet ended, he sent his Air Fortress-class frigate back to Earth, but he never returned home and no one knew where he went. Until this day we still haven't heard anything about him. After talking about Kulik, Liu could hardly hide his emotion. Kulik was a student of Liu and two others, and they all shared a deep bond. It has been almost a decade. If Kulik was still home, then Earth wouldn't be in such a difficult situation, with even the raiders dare to push it around. After a brief hesitation, Liu continued, as to why the domains are heavily defended, it's because the pre-historic civilization believe that one day they will ultimately return to Milky Way, so that's why they carefully sealed everything away. They still want to come back. Then I'm more confused. Moving as an entire race is not a joke and it's really costly. If they are going to come back, then why did they move away as an entire civilization? I guess they have their reasons. That's why it has been the biggest mystery of Milky Way. Normally, an entire race moving is usually due to a threat. But from the materials and technologies harvested from the domains, it's clear that before humans there was a very intelligent race with high degree of civilization. Humans only learned a fraction of the technology results of the pre-historic civilization, and it has already been so useful. Battleships capable of crossing Milky Way, fusion electric energy technology that's like a free source of energy to the entire world, those are all technologies left over by the pre-historic civilization. In fact, no one knows the type of threat that the powerful pre-historic civilization was facing that caused them to feel so determined to move towards the unknown distant. But there's one thing certain, the existence that forced the pre-historic civilization to completely leave Milky Way, must be a very dangerous enemy, and that dangerous existence is still here somewhere in Milky Way. It's still in a dormant state, and we just don't know more about it, that's all. Regardless, Milky Way is a chaotic and dangerous place. As a member of this galaxy, Earth is way too weak. The only way is for us to get stronger, and then it will be possible to fight off all external threats. The most I can do, is to put in all my effort to develop extinction domains. As long as Earth has a stable financial income, we can slowly accumulate strength. And you just need to find a way to make it to the galactic meet. I believe that you have the potential. Han nodded, don't worry, I will try my best. To my knowledge, Headquarter also has a team of professionally trained young espers, they should be going for the advancement match to the galactic meet, right? Liu looked dignified, tough to say. Now they are like you, shut away from the world to train. Oh right, you will meet those guys soon. Also, Qingzhong and Monk, they are all coming to attend First Legion. Han was so happy to hear that. Although they haven't known each other for a long time, but they've fought side by side like brothers sharing the same life, and that's the best kind of relation. Soon Han and Liu came to the end of the pathway, the rails are still being installed, and the mineral pit is going to be explored soon, to provide valuable financial support to Earth. Liu stared at the blood left on the wall, said in a deep voice, if we can't secure a good spot at the galactic meet, to avoid becoming a colony of other countries, our only chance would be to forcefully activate the B.class extinction domain here, and let our brother espers on Earth fight for the last hope. Han was shocked and asked in surprise, Earth still has a B.class extinction domain. Chapter 45. Ancient Battleground. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Han was shocked and asked surprisingly, Earth still has a B.class extinction site. Bedodem. According to what Li Yu just described, a B.class extinction site was an extremely valuable existence that can only be captured by the more developed and powerful planets in the Milky Way galaxy. The result of excavating an extinction site was, of course, an immeasurable amount of wealth. Han never would have guessed, a small planet like Earth was capable of having a B.class extinction site. Li Yu slightly nodded. Earth really has a B-class extinction site, and since you are already an official member of the Extinction Site Administration, I don't have to keep it confidential towards you anymore. But you know what's sad? It's that we defend a gold mine but we can't harvest any of that gold. We have no choice but to watch the wealth sleep underground. Han was shocked for a second, because we are too weak. But didn't you say before that we can partner with other big countries to explore these high-class extinction domains? Li Yu showed a bitter smile, and his eyes dimmed. It's not that Earth hasn't tried negotiating the exploration with other countries. The closest planet, the Centaurus Sally Empire's initial offering was 95%. The extinction domain is on Earth and they want to take the majority of it. How can anyone allow it? Also, the side effects of that negotiation was that the intel that we have a B.class domain got out, and the Sally Empire has been eyeing us menacingly ever since. I suspect that the past raids were all ordered by them. Unfortunately, that day you almost died to stop those raiders, we still couldn't kill them all. Some ended up fleeing, so we felt really guilty. Han hastily responded, I knew what happened that day. When our brothers got out of the extinction site they had already reached the end of their tethers, so it's already a success to be able to kick them off Earth. Li Yu smiled bitterly. First Legion's formation, it's also part of a plan to explore B.class extinction. If the Milky Way Alliance really ratifies Earth as a country that needs to be colonized, then we will force open the B.class domain. Right now, the main army has already moved to the location of that extinction domain. The 1st Legion's headquarters, the Air.Fortress class frigate, is positioned there as well, and this C.class location will be turned into a simple ore yard. After a few days, let's move to the new base with the last batch of soldiers. Li Yu stayed at the base to finalize some moving arrangements, and Han resumed his daily training. As the base moved, that freezing yet still unfrozen strange body of water will be completely moved too, to create a place to train for Han at the new base. After training, Han felt a great sense of refreshment throughout his body. He asked for 2 meat buns and 1 large cup of hot chocolate at the cafe, then he returned to his room and started to think while eating. Earth was not in a good position right now. Possessing a B.ranked extinction domain was Earth's luck, but it's also a source of disaster. If it wasn't for Galactic, Earth probably would have already become a colony 10 years ago. It's very easy for the developed and powerful countries in the Milky Way galaxy to claim Earth, they just need to write a report during the galactic meet of the Milky Way, saying that Earth was too weak and unprotected. Then they would request for the responsibility to protect it. Then, the members on the executive committee will do a vote, and if the majority doesn't reject, then Earth will become a colony. But like Li Yu said, betting with everything on the line to force the opening of B.class extinction domain is also not feasible. A low-level C.class domain already took the lives of many Esper soldiers, so it won't be enough capture the B.class domain even if they send all the soldiers on Earth into the domain. Sigh, it's time to attend the appointment with Pathless. Han let out a sigh and headed towards the training center. He found a public virtual pod and logged onto the Galactic Dark Net. They agreed before to visit Skinner, the guy who strips dead bodies for equipment, to talk about buying weapons. Schwa. After a flash of light, Han was sent into the virtual environment created by the computer. There was a little stream with many bluestone chairs and tables, four sides surrounded by green grass and pleasant sound of nature. It was really peaceful. Pathless Origin still hasn't shown up, so Han waited patiently near the little river. This time Pathless was so nice that he agreed to take Han to see the buyer. That's really a rare opportunity. Soon, Pathless showed up, looked around, and said, "Once you are ready we will get going." Han nodded. Pathless opened the address display, entered a link, and then copied the link to Han. Note this down, and next time you can go find old Emo yourself. Han and Pathless teleported one after another to Skinner's camp. Han suddenly realized, this campsite wasn't virtual but instead was real. Right now Han and Pathless' consciousness got placed into two walking robots. The Dark Net had connected the robot's data end, and that way, although being thousands of light years apart, Han and Pathless can still be physically present. Han looked around in curiosity, and observed that the place Skinner lived wasn't that great. A ragged tiny industrial ship parked on a cliff, with an energy shield protecting the top, and surrounded by small mountains of equipment and weapons piled randomly after being taken away from the dead. There's no one at the campsite, just a few robots covered in rust stains, and we don't know how long it had been since they were last cleaned. Missing an eye, or short an arm or leg, it was very common. Around the campsite were large quantity of robot remains, they were taken apart by someone and thrown into piles. Han looked down at himself, the robot he got placed in is actually quite interesting. Different from those common crawler-type robots, the one Han's controlling is more human-like, with 2 arms and 2 legs, and the workmanship and material that made this robot also seems higher class. Moved fingers around, attempted to jump a few times, Han then saw Pathless origin. He's a robot too now, and there's a screen on the head, and on that screen is that emotionless cold wrinkly face of Pathless. Pathless said in an arrogant voice, "What, you've never seen robot before, right? These things are a big taboo in Milky Way. Using intellectualized robots. Death. Repairing robots. Death. And manufacturing robots will also result in the whole family getting death sentence. I trusted you, that's why I brought you here. So you can't tell this to anyone even if you get beaten to death." Han nodded, but asked in confusion, "Robots violate Milky Way's law?" "Although I've never came in contact with one, but I've watched a lot of movies on robots." Pathless said in a serious voice, "Anything related to artificial intelligence is a big taboo of the Milky Way Alliance, because they are scared of the power of artificial intelligence. They feel that robots might one day betray the human race, so they strictly forbade all research and work related to robots." That Skinner old Emo built his campground on the side of a cliff, and there's a shaky steel chained bridge linking to the other side of the cliff. As Pathless took a broad view over the boundless field on the other side, and said in a deep voice, "That's the main battlefield of the Zizhu Empire and Luolan Republic, where over 20 million espers fought to the death. The war continued on for a year and 7 months, and all the killing resulted in blood running like rivers and bodies covering every inch of the ground. Ultimately, both powerful countries used super-nuclear weapon at the same time, instantly killing all the soldiers on the field regardless of them being ally or foe. The bloodiness of that war was beyond imagination. After the detonation of super-nuclear, this planet became a forbidden zone for humans, the average radiation index reached 76,000. Especially the land right across from us, which is the center of the battlefield, the radiation index passes 5 million. No one, not even warlords, were able to survive in radiation that strong." Han asked in confusion, "If there's so much radiation, how can Skinner old Emo survive and live here?" Pathless Origin waved his hand and said carelessly, "You will know in a second. Old Emo isn't even human." Chapter 46. Skinner, you are listening at novelfull.audio. Pathless waved his hand, and said carelessly, "You will get it when you see him later, old Emo isn't even human. You. Always saying bad things about me behind my back." Right after Pathless' words, Han heard the industrial ship's hatch door open, and someone with messy hair and wearing thick black goggles spoke as he walked down. Han found out in surprise, old Emo really isn't human, he's in thick armor with only 2 hands exposed. He has very long nails, just like hard eagle claws. He's covered in gray scales, and his body size is far larger than humans too, approaching 3 meters. This must be Skinner old Emo. Although he's not human, but just like Han and Pathless, he spoke Milky Way's common human language. Right now, Milky Way already has its unified language and writing, and since Earth is a newcomer to the Milky Way alliance, different languages still exist based on where you are from on Earth. For instance, as Han, Qingzhong, Li Qi and other friends from China still speaks Mandarin when they are together, but they all speak Milky Way's unified language during other times. Pathless saw old Mo is here, he smiled and said, "When did I say bad things about you? You are not a human." Pathless turned around and explained to Han, "Old Mo belongs to Kuei race, a very rare race in Milky Way. They were born on a planet that's really radioactive, so they originally have very high tolerance to radiation. Later, Milky Way Alliance wanted to take over the planet due to its rich nuclear resource, and since Kuei is a small race, they couldn't defend against the invasion of a large human army. So, the Kuei race got scattered. And due to the fact that they have high resistance towards radiation, a portion of them became skinners. This old Mo has been wanted by Milky Way Alliance for a long time, so if you need money one day, just chop off his head and hand it in and you can redeem quite a large bounty." Old Mo has really good temper, he didn't get angry and he stopped beside Pathless and Han. Pathless was very straightforward, "Old Mo, this is Han, he wants to buy some equipment from you." Old Mo nodded and pointed at the nearby small mountain of equipment. "To be honest, due to the heavy nuclear pollution on this planet, all my equipment here are contaminated and that's why they are so cheap. After shipping them back they still require some processing to be usable." Pathless added, "Old Black knows a few things about processing, you just have to buy something that neutralizes radiation, that's all." After Pathless and Old Mo's explanation, Han finally understood, the so-called skinners are not merciless outlaws, but just someone that uses robots to clean up battlefields. For example, Old Mo, he belongs to a rare race and lives in difficult conditions under the oppression of the Milky Way that's dominated by humans, that's why he made the risky move and started this kind of business that can get him killed. Right now, United Government of Earth has 10,000 official members, they are all elite espers picked from the entire planet, the majority being 3-star espers with some 4-stars as well. According to plan, Han will need at least 10,000 3-star battle suits and 10,000 weapons. During a large-scale battle, aside from battle suits, espers usually wear another layer of alloy armor in order to strengthen their defense. Rarely being able to find a low-price supplier like Old Mo, Han of course wants to finish buying all the equipment at once. Usually, 3-star battle suits are around 100,000 GC each, armor and weapon depends on quality in material. Han thought for a bit, weapons and armors don't have to be exceptional quality, but buying battle suits is quite troublesome. Battle suit is the most foundational equipment, not only must it have good defense, capable of entering water or space and maintaining life, it also needs the flexibility of being able to adjust when wearing, too loose or too tight are all not good. They require an advanced degree of technology to manufacture, and it's also costly to make. Even these contaminated second-handed battle suit are still not cheap. Han and Old Mo negotiated. Old Mo considered for a while and finally said, "How about this, 3-star battle suits I can sell them for 8,000 GC each, and then armor and weapon, including shipping, I will charge another 2,000. That's my bottom price. As for my 4-star battle suit, I only have around 10, I will charge 1 million GC. During the time of that war, high-level soldiers were all concentrated at the center of explosion, so the equipment left over on the battlefield are usually from soldiers of average and lower rank, the high-rank equipment were mostly destroyed with those high-level soldiers, so they are rare to find. Han saw Pathless nodding slightly on the side to show his approval of this being a good price, so Han agreed to the deal. It costed 101 million GC to buy this shipment of equipment, and if Han were to buy it from legal galactic market then it would cost at least $1 billion or $2. Then Han thought about the problem with shipping. Old Mo laughed and said, "I've been cleaning this battlefield for many years, there shouldn't be too much stuff left over. Later, I will tidy up the items you ordered and ship it to Earth myself, and then I will head to another battlefield. Han and Old Mo were still talking about shipping arrangements while a large group appeared from the distant. It's a group of hardworking robots that goes onto the battlefields to retrieve equipment. They stopped at the campground and started sorting the equipment they retrieved. Han became very interested in the system of control Old Mo has in place. Although Old Mo came from the Kuei race, he still can't tolerate the high radiation at the center of battlefield, and he had no choice but to stay on the outer ring. He still can't expose himself to the radiation too much, so he always take baths with medicines regularly to make sure that he doesn't die from a prolonged exposure to radiation. As for the robots, they aren't afraid of anything and they don't understand what it means to be tired. If robots aren't banned in Milky Way, Han really want to buy one too. Old Mo, where did you get those robots? Han asked curiously. Old Mo laughed and said, from a junk planet. The robot were destroyed after the ban, but there were a portion of the parts still on that planet so I resembled them. Unfortunately, these robots had logic chips installed before, and they were taken out before the robots were destroyed. There's a big difference between the robots with and without logic chip. The ones without has very basic intelligence and they only understand to follow orders. If the robots have a logic chip installed, then it becomes just like a human, capable of smiling and thinking. Old Mo also told Han that to avoid being copied, Milky Way Alliance took away all the logic chips and sealed it at a highly secured location. It is said that logic chips are also something left behind by the prehistoric civilization, and it is impossible to be produced under the current level of technology that humans possess. So, as long as Alliance doesn't remove the seal, then Milky Way Galaxy will never have truly intellectualized robots. Han listened and thought emotionally, using large quantities of robots can significantly improve humans' production capability, and it's such a pity that they were sealed away. Old Mo saw Han asking so many questions about robots, he laughed and said, "You are really interested in robots." Han nodded rapidly. Old Mo said with great sentiment, "Me too. Ever since I was a child, I already became obsessed with robot technology. These robots are not just tools that I use to clean up battlefields, they are more like families that I know will never betray me. If you like them, I will let you lead a group and explore the ancient battlefield later. Underscore 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 underscore. This bonus chapter is sponsored by Synthus, thank you bro. Chapter 47. Exploring the battlefield. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. Han took 2 cleaning robots and decided to go take a look at the battlefield that Old Mo and Pathless have talked so much about. Both robots are crawler type, suitable for moving in complicated terrain. Their arms carry digging tools, and because they don't have logic chips implanted, they look kind of dumb, only capable of listening to orders. Han told them to go sit on the car and wait for him, and they ran to the car and waited there like a good boy. Old Mo told Han that the robot Han's in right now used to be the most advanced model in the old days, named R7, made from high-level titanium alloy, has an identical body of human, with arms and legs, height at 1.8 meter, connected and controlled using the Dark Net communication port. After getting ready, Han waved goodbye at Old Mo and Pathless, stepped down on the gas pedal, and the vehicle rushed onto the steel-chained bridge towards the battleground remain. Old Mo commanded the rest of the robots to start picking out the equipment that Han wanted, and pack them all into his sketchy industrial transporting ship, waiting to leave the planet to get them cleansed first before sending them to Earth. In the blink of an eye Han has already traveled very far. Old Mo's base became a small black dot behind him, and in front of him is the limitless desert. After the cruel nuclear explosion, the land has become completely lifeless, only Old Mo and maybe the robots count as the only life on this planet. The vehicle is called a land speeder, a very common mean of transportation in Milky Way. It has no wheels, uses magnetic suspension system to float about 1 meter off the ground, with 2 high-powered jet turbo engines providing the speeder the necessary propulsion, capable of traveling up to 3,000 km/h. Old Mo's land speeder doesn't have a top and also carries a cargo box like a truck. It looks really simple, but after all, he's an engineer that can even repair the complicated robotic devices. With his tuning, the land speeder has excellent performance and great drifting speed, topping it off with powerful jet engine that set off a huge amount of sand behind them as it roars. Han controlled a robot to drive the land speeder, so the air resistance and noises were not a threat to him, allowing him to fully enjoy the pleasure of speed. After only 2 hours, they arrived at the heart of the battlefield. Here he saw the land clouded with giant craters that resulted from bomb explosions. Some of these bombs didn't detonate on the ground but in the air instead, releasing super shockwaves capable of shattering the internal organs of soldiers to create more casualties. The large empire-level countries in Milky Way have incredible strength. At this war between Zizhu Empire and Luo Lan Republic, just espers alone, both sides putted in as much as 20 million. In comparison, Earth has at most 15,000 espers, and that's including those non-combat ones like the esper that can grow more teeth or do math faster. It's clear to see the huge gap that exists between Earth and those great powers in Milky Way. It was said that the most powerful countries in Milky Way, the 12 permanent members of the Milky Way Alliance, each has at least 100 million espers. For countries with such strength, destroying Earth is as easy as stretching fingers. The ancient battlefield has a long history, coupled with the robots led by old Mo that have been here for decades. There wasn't any remaining equipment in sight. In fact, Han also knew that it would be impossible for him to find anything valuable on this ancient battlefield because they would have long been taken away by old Mo. Now he just wanted to get a feel of the atmosphere of the battlefield. Despite the battlefield now looking like a deserted desert, there is one thing that will not die out because of time but grow more and more intense, and that is the soldier's indomitable soul. The wind blows and the water gets cold, warriors leave home but never return. The barren desert filled with a chill atmosphere, the warriors that fought bravely here in the past have died, but their souls are still here wandering. Before the dark and stormy night, the sound of wind on the desert is their lamentation. TL. Translated from a Chinese poem, Han imagined the scenes of the war that year, picturing rivers of blood running on the desert. Before he knew it, he has driven past the heart of the battlefield and came to the end of the desert, facing layers and layers of mounds. Han stopped beside a mound, he looked at the time and 5 hours have already passed. Blazing past over 10,000 kilometers, it is very hard for people that aren't personally experienced to understand the joy Han had riding that land speeder. Although Han knew that it's highly unlikely that he will harvest anything, but after all, for a journey on the battlefield, he should at least get something as a souvenir. He's really not reconciled to go home empty-handed, even finding a dagger to bring back is good enough for him. So, Han decided to enter the hilly area. Driving in the desert just needs speed, but driving in this hilly terrain requires more skills. Han slowed down his speeder and advanced along the valley between the hills. A sudden turn will drift up the center of gravity of the speeder, adding on a thrilling pleasure that wasn't present in the desert. 2 more hours quickly flew by, Han still hasn't made any discovery. Not even the main battlefield have any more remnants, not to mention this region outside the battlefield. Well, it's not early anymore, time to go back. Thinking about that, Han tilted the steering wheel and got ready to turn back to the camp. After all, Han is still a beginner at driving land speeder. He rushed between the hills and was a little anxious when making a quick turn. After hurtling sideways, the speeder actually couldn't stop and began to quickly drifting sideways. Shit! Too much speed. Han cursed, quickly activating the brake. At the presence of an opposite force, the speeder began to react by shaking violently, sending dirt flying all over the sky. The speeder finally came to a difficult stop only a few meters away from a small mound, barely avoiding collision. The scene was breathtaking. Han turned his head to check on the robots. Crap, he and the land speeder are okay, but those 2 robots got thrown out of the cargo container due to a shift in gravity, landing head first into a mound. Han hurried and got off the speeder to dig out the two silly robots from the soil. Ha! Suddenly Han froze, because as he dug out the robots and pulled them out of the dirt, he noticed that the dirt wall is actually hollow inside. There is a cave with its entrance covered by dirt, and as Han dug out the soil layer he was able to see the cave from a top corner. Come, let's dig open this hole and take a look. Han asked the two crawler-type robots. So, Han and the two robots struggled as they finally opened up an entrance big enough for them to fit, then the robot opened a flashlight and accompanied Han into the cave. The cave is a natural formation, not large in area. The nuclear explosion that year possibly shook off the top layer soil, blocking the entrance to the cave. The light shined onto the end of the cave. Han seemed to see two dark shadows. Chapter 48. 90 million GC. You are listening at novelfull.audio. There seems to be two dark shadows inside the cave. Han hastily walked over and saw two long dead soldiers both knelt on the ground. The one on the left pierced the other one's chest with a knife, but the one on the right landed a sneak attack right with a dagger hidden in his sleeves right before his death. The edge went into the neck, dealt a fatal blow. Undoubtedly, there is a significant skill gap between the two warriors. One of them took all the advantages and straight up slashed the other one's combat armor into a mess while not getting a single scratch on his body. Unfortunately, the weaker one was more sinister, releasing his dagger right before death and ended the enemy's life. Han felt incredibly lucky. It's an unintentional move, but a traffic accident knocked open a cave, and the weapon and armor left by both soldiers are his. The warrior with a pierced chest was wearing a leather combat suit. It was severely damaged, possibly wasted. But the warrior that got stabbed in the neck, his uniform was intact, black. It feels like a fiber texture but also a bit different. Han quickly ordered the two crawler robots to take off the items on the corpses. The silly robots are used to doing this kind of work. They quickly scavenged the bodies and also dug out an inheritance power crystal from one of their skulls, golden, sparkling. Han knew, generally speaking, that only high-level espers will possibly leave behind inheritance power crystals after death, and the probability is less than 1 out of 10,000. Judging by the color and purity, the crystal can easily sell for 1 million GC. And if this person is a high-level soldier, then the items he left behind must be quality stuff as well. But after digging around, aside from his combat suit he only found a ring. Perhaps because of his confidence, he didn't bother wearing a layer of alloy armor. The soldier in leather combat suit did wear armor and he also carried a leather backpack, although there isn't anything valuable. But the dagger in his hand is really unique. It's actually not metal, but made with animal bones. Han quickly packed everything up in excitement, got on his land speeder and went straight back to Old Mo's campsite. Come check this out, I found something. Han landed the speeder safely and shouted in excitement. Soon, Old Mo and Pathless got out of the industrial ship, and they were surprised to find that Han actually found some equipment after circling the battlefield once, and it looks very good too. A complete combat suit, a broken combat suit, a blue ring, a backpack with a few gems and other food supplies, a silver dagger made from animal bones, an alloy armor, plus a power crystal. Old Mo skillfully picked up an armor and knocked, this is a protective armor built with fully dragon alloy, good stuff. Although it has many scratches, but it can still sell for 120,000 GC. As for the power crystal, it should be metal. Bending descent, worth about 10 million GC. On the other side, Pathless picked up the dagger, weighted it with his hands, tilted his head and said, this is a dagger made with black celestial armor beast's tailbone, a very insidious weapon that not only can escape the scanner but is also highly toxic. It can sell for 70 or 80,000 GC. Han nodded on the side. No wonder that higher level warrior dead right away after being stabbed. The dagger was poisonous. Old Mo checked out the leather combat suit and backpack and felt quite impressed. He said in a deep voice, this dead man appears to be from the witch race. He not only uses the dagger made from black celestial armor beast but also used red tail viper's leather as armor and backpack. Both of these are poisonous, distributing a scent that will trigger hallucination after inhaling. The Witch Race. Han was shocked. The Witch Race is one of the Milky Way wisdom race. Its scale is smaller than the Kuei race old Mo is from, and it was said that they are all insidious people that are skilled with using poison. Pathless stared at that last combat suit and blue ring for a long time, and asked in a deep voice, Han, where did you get these stuff? So Han told Pathless and old Mo the whole story. After hearing it, Pathless laughed, I get it, Luolan Republic was said to have hired soldiers from the Witch Race, so this 4-star soldier should belong to the Luolan side. But the owner of the other battle suit and ring, should be a young aristocrat from the Zizhu Empire. First let's talk about this knife, Silver Moon Crescent Blade, top-tier blade in the Zizhu Empire. Annual production was no more than 10 and they were only given to the elites of the empire, never sold to public. Its price is at least 1 million GC. This combat suit is even better. It uses a special type of soft metal, named Black Kylan, ranked low 6-star. Without at least 20 or 30 million, it's impossible to buy an all-round combat suit of this high quality. Han was shocked. He placed his hand on that black combat suit, stroked it a few times, and said in surprise, so this is soft metal. Its texture feels like fiber, no wonder this guy only wore this combat suit but not the alloy armor, it's actually because he's really confident in his equipment. Pathless nodded slightly, although his equipment is good, but it's certainly not 6-star. Or else, how would the 4-star Esper from the Witch Race be able to kill him? Old Mo said carelessly, Zizhu is an empire with many wealthy aristocrats. Maybe this person is a noble offspring so he was able to play with these high-level equipment. Pathless, what's the deal with the blue ring? It's been in your hand for a long time. Pathless slightly smiled, this thing is even better, you have never seen it before, right? This ring inlaid with the blue stone is the legendary Blue Sky Ring, a dimension ring left behind by the pre-historic civilization to store items. Old Mo, right now I'm in a robotic state so I can't use my source energy. You force some of your source energy into the ring to open it, maybe there's something valuable inside. Old Mo nodded, the sky blue ring is quite amazing. A DNA detecting chip is installed on the ring, so whoever wears it, only his or her source energy can activate the ring, and ordinary people without source energy won't be able to use it. Soon, Old Mo opened the blue sky ring and poured out a lot of good stuff. Most of the things are supplies, food, medicine, water, underwear and stuff. In addition there's some letters and a notebook, and a pile of money. Pathless picked out the money and medicine and passed it to Old Mo, threw away all the food and water, picked up the letters and notebook and began to read. Quickly, a faint smile appeared on Pathless' face. It really is a young noble offspring of the Zizhu Empire, and he was also in a relationship. These are all diaries and letters to his girlfriend that he didn't have time to send out. After readily throwing away the letters, Pathless picked up the piles of banknotes and counted. One of the pile is in notes of 10,000 GCs, the other two piles are in 1,000 GCs, and there were a few hundred GC bills too. Pathless smiled and said, Noble's children are really spoiled, carrying this much money just to go to war. These are all GC cash issued by the Milky Way Alliance. Although the majority are now using electronic money, but these notes can be converted anytime, it's about 2.23 million. Han, now you are rich. Silver Moon Crescent Blade is worth 20 million value of 6-star Black Kylan combat suit, 10 million value of power crystal, 2.23 million in cash. The bone dagger is about 2 million, and these medicines seems pretty decent and can go for around a few hundreds of thousands, and not to mention this sky blue ring that can generate in 1 cube dimension for you to use as storage. On Dark Net, sky blue rings of 1 cube large is worth at least 50 million GC. Adding everything together, your loot has a value of about 90 million GC. A harvest of 90 million GC worth. Han was so excited that he wanted to jump. Not long ago, due to the loss of his drug index, Han started to worry about his source of income. But today, he was able to gain this enormous wealth all of a sudden. You must know, Liu and the brothers putting their lives on the line to explore the C.class domain, and their monthly income is just about 45 million GC in total. Han took a visit to the ancient battlefield and he was able to harvest loot equivalent to 2 months of Earth's income, which after conversion is more than 100 billion in United Government currency. Talking about being wealthy enough to compete with countries. Of course, these wealth are mostly just on paper. Black Kylan battle suit, sky blue ring, silver moon crescent blade, white bone dagger, fully dragon alloy armor, these just make up a complete set of combat equipment, and of course Han wants to keep them for own use. Pathless thought for a bit and said, sell the power crystal, and let old Mo bring you the cash and equipment when he goes to Earth. Chapter 49. Nazca Base. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Tomorrow is Earth calendar's New Year. Before New Year, Liu, Han, and the last group of personnel that are moving from the South Pole base loaded up the ship with supplies, and arrived together at southern Peru's Nazca Wilderness. Headquarter of 1st Legion and the undeveloped Class B extinction site are all located here as well. Sitting on the plain looking down, the first site was the well-known Nazca Lines, a line stretching for several kilometers, constituting a variety of vivid patterns engraved above the field, and its origin still remains a mystery up to this day. Hercules transporter skipped those miraculous patterns, and the atmosphere changed suddenly when an enormous interstellar warship appeared into their sight. This is the Air Fortress class cruiser, Atlantic Cruiser. Its length covers more than 1,500 meters, width expanding to nearly 400 meters. 30 stories high, 6 main artilleries at the front and back, 18 secondary side cannons as support, for linkage missile launchers, 2 fixed-space torpedo launchers, and 2 decoy launchers and so on. The Atlantic Cruiser is equipped with a series of heavy firepower attack means. Atlantic Cruiser carries 800 crew members. As Earth United Government's only interstellar cruiser, Atlantic shoulders the important mission of guarding Earth. Unfortunately, although Atlantic has incredible firepower, there's only one which can't protect every corner of Earth. Those space raiders are currently taking advantage of this to carry out hit-and-run tactics, normally fleeing before Atlantic even arrives. After crossing the Atlantic Cruiser, they saw the 1st Legion headquarters, which is also the entrance to the B.class extinction domain. Numerous white circular buildings surrounded the entrance to the domain. Over 10,000 espers are guarding on Atlantic Cruiser, and so if the raiders plan to destroy to Earth's B.class domain again, they will have to check if they got what it takes. Christmas just passed and it's New Year's Eve, but there's no colorful lights nor celebration at the base. The Hercules landed in solitude just a few miles away from the airport. Han followed Liu and got on a jeep towards the base. On the way, he saw many soldiers jogging in the dark night, people holding thick books and studying under the outdoor lights, and the training facilities were crowded as well. The jeep stopped at the back of the base. Liu looked around and said in a deep voice, "Next year is the Galactic Meet, everyone in the Legion is very nervous," so when Long Chuan proposed to have a New Year celebration, no one responded at all, and that's how much pressure everyone is under right now. "Come with me, I will take you to see another group of young men that are participating in the pressure exam." The Nazca base has a separate spherical building saved for the most promising group of talents that are attending the Galactic Meet. They deemed Han as one of them, so Liu took him to see his future comrades. "Your department is the expansion of the headquarters talent team. There were originally 7 little monsters under the age of 30 but reached 4 stars. Now, plus the 32 espers selected on Earth that have the hope of making it to the Galactic Meet, there's a total of 49 members. Your supervisor is Long Chuan, he is also the captain of Atlantic Cruiser. Because of how busy he is, you might not always get to see him. Also, your good buddy Qingzhong is also here." Han nodded. He has already heard of the famous Long Chuan, who was one of Kolake's 3 teachers. Comparable to Liu and Talon, the 3 figures have made an indelible contribution to Earth. Now they all occupy pivotal positions in the United Government, with Liu being the chief of the Extinction Domain Administration, Talon being the chief of headquarters, and Long Chuan taking over Earth's most important military power, the Atlantic. As elsewhere, there is no celebration in the training camp. Han and Liu came straight to the training center, only to see fatty Qingzhong training his leg muscles, doing exercises while chewing non-stop on a bucket of beef jerkies. Compared to the first time Han saw him a few months ago, Qingzhong got a lot fatter again, with cheeks bulging and belly almost sticking to heaven. Han. Qingzhong saw Han and he immediately ran towards him while holding his bucket of beef jerky. As he ran, the training center's alloy floor trembled as well. "Brother, I missed you, man." Qingzhong shouted in a very affectionate voice. Han looked around. "How come only you are here? Where's Monk?" Qingzhong curled his lip and said, "Monk didn't pass the pressure exam and got eliminated, he's on the assault team now." There are several other people in the training room, and Qingzhong's open personality strikes again as he dragged Han and introduced him to everyone. Liu still got other tasks to attend to, so he left early. Qingzhong enthusiastically took Han on a tour around the building. United Government spent a lot of money on this promising group of youths to prepare them for galactic meet. The training center has a personal simulation pod for everyone and also all kinds of training facilities. It's been a while since he last saw Qingzhong, and just as Han was excitedly chatting with him, a cold voice suddenly came to Han's ears. "You are Han." Han turned around and saw 7 people walking out from the training center. They are all really young, and the obvious difference between them and others is that they are each in decent quality combat suit and wearing a 4-star honor badge on their chest. Han knew, they are the legendary 7 geniuses from headquarters. Being able to reach 4 stars before the age of 30, these people all have impeccable potential. As for Han and Qingzhong and the others, they are all late-comers to the department, and they are all 3-star espers. It looks like these geniuses aren't that gregarious, especially the tall, thin blonde young man that's leading the group. His eyes are somewhat domineering, has a flat mouth that coldly shouted Han's name. Speaking about them, the biggest difference between Han and the 7 geniuses is the sheer force of character. Although his level isn't as high, but Han fought real battles, saw blood, and also witnessed the kind of cruel and merciless fights at broadcast of death. Although Han's younger, but he seems more calm. Slightly smiling, Han reached out his hand and got ready to shake hands. "I am Han, haven't asked what your name is, brother." The tall blonde youngster hesitated, reluctantly reached out and gave a little high five to Han's palm, and frowned. "You are very late. As of now, everyone is here. The old saying goes, no rules then there's no results. Tonight we will elect the battalion commander and the deputy battalion commander so that we can also have a voice and a backbone for subsequent activities." Han doesn't have any objections, but Qingzhong already retreated to the side. Qingzhong seemed to be a bit angry at them. These guys are most annoying. Just because they are higher level, they show no respect to all the late-coming 3-star warriors. They don't even train with us, and they always act alone. After talking with Qingzhong, Han knows that the tall blonde youngster is called Xian Beige, Germanic origin, intermediate 4-star level, and among all 49 people in the training camp he's the only one that reached such a high level. Of course, in a battle, level doesn't mean everything. Experience, courage, power and so on are all important factors. Xian Beige really has a great surge of leadership gesture. He gathered all 49 students into the exercising room and said in a deep voice, "I suggest, we perform simulated battles to pick out the battalion commander, and the deputy commander will be picked by the commander. After that, everyone have to listen to the commander's arrangements, stick close together and grow this department into the strongest combat team as soon as possible. We old genius battalion all agree to elect me as a candidate for commander. You late-comers can elect a candidate now." Han slightly frowned. He's not very impressed by Xian Beige's decision. After all, everyone belongs to the same training camp and are fighting for the same goal. There's no need to distinguish between veteran members and late joiners. Xian Beige stroked his blonde hair. scanned the field of audiences and said in a deep voice, "Then, if you guys have no other opinions, I will be the commander, and I appoint Bebe as the deputy commander, who is also a very outstanding member among us old members. And Bebe is a very lively girl, looks like in her early 20s, has a nice tan skin and a pair of slender legs." When Xian Beige mentioned her, she smiled and waved at everyone. She obviously has an open and cheerful personality. "I disagree." The decision was almost settled and Chen Zhong suddenly shouted, "I think Han is more qualified than you to be the battalion commander. Unlike us, he once single-handedly blocked a dozen times more enemies and protected the Earth's vital C-class extinction domain. Talking about battle experience, Han is 100 times stronger than you guys. If you put yourself in Han's shoes that day, do you think you can block them?" Chen Zhong suddenly carried out Han and that slightly stunned him. Xian Beige's face doesn't look in a good now. He has always considered himself as a genius and thought he's better than everyone else. "If not satisfied, you dare to fight," Xian Beige said coldly. "Of course, you think we are afraid of you." Chen Zhong immediately rolled up his sleeves, and revealed his arms which are even larger than other people's thighs. Chapter 50. Long Chuan. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Xian Beige didn't try to hide his overbearing character. He arrogantly asked Han, "What did you say? Do you dare to fight me?" Shua. All eyes gathered on Han. Against Xian Beige and his team of geniuses, a lot of people all felt grudges against them, but they knew that they were too weak so none of them dared to speak up. However, now that Han's here, the soldier that was known as the possessor of the strongest superpower and bones on Earth, everyone including Chen Zhong all hope that Han can stand up for them and challenge Xian Beige and his arrogant group of geniuses. Smiling faintly, Han stood up and said, "Brothers of Earth do not fight amongst themselves. But since it is just a contest, I guess there's no problem for us to just practice against each other. I also really want to see Brother Xian Beige's skilled moves." Han accepted the challenge so readily which surprised everyone including Chen Zhong, who was very familiar with Han. Usually, the boys from China were more shy and constrained. But after not seeing him for a few months, Han's personality seemed to have gone through big changes, becoming calmer and more fearless. But little did Chen Zhong know, during the past months Han had been closely following Pathless training method, and Pathless obviously didn't teach Han those old and constrained Chinese training methods. What he taught Han was extreme training, extreme combat techniques, fighting with his life on the line and never giving up until his body was in a grave. Although Han was still young, he had already begun to think like a true iron-blood warrior. Lowering his head and acting cowardly like a turtle. Not even a chance. True warriors shoulder responsibilities. If Han ever had the thought to hide like a turtle in a battle, then that could cost the lives of many citizens or comrades. Chen Zhong looked at the person. He's no longer that nerdy version of Han, but an unyielding warrior version of Han. Turning around, Han didn't even bother to look at Xian and said in a deep voice, "Since it's a team battle, I need 4 teammates. Who's willing to accompany me and fight by my side?" Of course, Chen Zhong was the first one to step up. Then Han picked out 3 others that looked really calm from the crowd. "We will see you on the virtual battlefield in a bit," Han immediately said. Li Yu waved farewell to Han, turned around and went to Long Chuan's office. Opening the door, there sat a thin white-skinned middle-aged man in front of the monitor. The expression on his face showed that he was eagerly looking forward to something. This was Long Chuan, the youngest one among the 3 teachers of Ko Lake and also the highest level, sitting at the pinnacle of a 4-star esper. The famous Long Chuan didn't look like a warrior at all, but rather more like a scholar in a thin and weak body with a severe stomach problem and a face as pale as the snow. He actually looked like he was suffering from malnutrition. Li Yu and Talon all nicknamed Long Chuan the sick dragon. Of course, nickname jokes were always just jokes. Only Li Yu and Talon who were very close to Long Chuan truly understood how fearsome he could be. Not only is he powerful, but also very intelligent, completely different from those common kind of powerful but simple-minded warriors. Last galactic meet, Long Chuan had just passed the age of 30 and went over the maximum age limit. Otherwise, if he fought together with Lake, they would probably receive an even better score. Unfortunately, also Long Chuan had the talent as rare as Dragon and Phoenix, but he was still a sick dragon, inflicted with a condition that has dragged him behind a lot. At the age of 20, Long Chuan already reached the pinnacle of 4-star, but his level stayed the same till now. At the age of 39 he still couldn't make that final step and break through the barrier to 5-star. But he certainly had a cheerful personality though. Gu saw Li Yu and he immediately yelled at him, "Hurry, hurry. They are about to fight." Li Yu's head became filled with question marks. Who's fighting who again? Long Chuan was so excited that his eyebrows are dancing. "The little boy you brought, Han, he's challenging Xian Beija's group." Li Yu was shocked for a second, then muttered, "I just brought him to the training camp and it's already chaotic. Xian Beija's group are all geniuses taught by you, how can Han be their opponent?" Long Chuan was very looking forward to it, that's still uncertain. Look at his team picks: weight conversion descents Qingzhong, mind control descent by Shuiying, rock descent Tu Lamu, ice descent Nicholas, they are all powerful espers. Li Yu was shocked and said in surprise, "Good picks. These are all the strongest espers among the 3-star soldiers. Han doesn't even know them, Qingzhong probably picked for Han. From what I know, Qingzhong and Han fought together before so their relationship is very good." Long Chuan shook his head and showed a footage of Han picking to Li Yu in a slow motion, in which Han quickly picked out those strong members from the crowd and Qingzhong didn't say a thing. Long Chuan thought about it and said, "I understand, Han made his choices based on looking at others' eyes." Li Yu is still a bit confused. Long Chuan said, "Look carefully, when Han was picking, he scanned everyone's eyes once. If there is any fear or if one is undetermined, those people all can't become Han's teammate." Qingzhong stood up right away, "So that's that. But Nicholas and Bai Shuiying and the others, they are all very strong, and their eyes shows a feeling of eagerness, and that's why Han picked them. That's probably it. Otherwise it can't be explained why the strongest 3-star Esper Luo Yuan wasn't chosen by Han. She's an opponent that even Xian Beige is kind of scared of, but unfortunately she's just a shy girl with an introverted personality. That's why Han chose others but not the strongest Luo Yuan. Han must have saw through the cowardice in Luo Yuan's bones. Long Chuan is a very intelligent soldier. Li Yu obviously trusts his analysis. He also thinks that Han made his choices based on one's sheer force of character, otherwise only fools won't pick Luo Yuan as their teammate. "Who's going on the Xian Beige side?" Li Yu asked. Long Chuan said in a somewhat angry tone, "Nbebe, Tai Honglu, Buluk, and Parker. That's the strongest formation in the gifted class, they are all 4 stars. Against Han's temporary team, they still chose to use their strongest combination, that way there's no grace if they win." Li Yu laughed, "You can't eat grace for food. I actually think Xian Beige made the right choice going all out. After all it's the tough bone Han, despite his level, Void End isn't a vegetarian's technique. As soon as the Void Domain is activated, any power is eliminated, and Xian Beige will have no choice but to charge at Han and trade melee blows. Believe me, anyone against Han isn't a joke. His moves are really cruel and merciless." Long Chuan nodded slightly, "I've watched the clip that made Han famous countless times. He certainly doesn't lack the courage and perseverance of a true soldier, but don't underestimate my crew. I've spent great effort on Xian Beige and his team. Doesn't matter how strong Han is, it's just him that's strong, but tactics are the most important factor in team fights." In the monitoring screen, Han and the others have entered the virtual pods and were discussing each other's characteristics. Li Yu slightly frowned. Aside from Qingzhong, Han doesn't even know the other guys, let alone understand their characteristics. A temporary team formation like this, maybe really isn't a worthy opponent of those geniuses. Long Chuan was still fueled with excitement. I've been looking forward to this fight for a long time. Even if they didn't trigger a fight today, I would still look for ways to get them to fight. Let's watch together. I really want to know who's stronger, Han from the wild, or the group of geniuses that I carefully taught and tuned.